Hey, I hope you're having a great day. So today I want to talk about what is a vCIO, Virtual Chief Information Officer. Well, you've got lots of kind of words for these people that kind of sit at the top of the IT chain. You can have a CIO, CTO, vCIO, vCTO, IT director, IT manager. What I'm talking about here is somebody who sits between technical and leadership, the managers, directors, owners of the business. And that's, depending on the size of the organization, that could consist of one person or it could consist of a team of 20, 50 people. But in a lot of the small businesses, it quite often falls on somewhere between the owner and the outsourced IT provider and like kind of their office manager person to fulfill that role. In a slightly bigger organization, you might have an IT manager who may or may not be technical. It's important to understand that a vCIO has 1 foot in technical and 1 foot in management. And you've got to have a mixture of both skills. It's not possible to do the role without both. A vCIO is responsible for strategic decisions within the business from a technical perspective, but also as a virtual interim or fractional manager, your responsibility within the business is limited. Obviously, if you're a IT director or CTO, CIO, then you have legal responsibility within the business. As a vCIO, you've got to be very careful that you can't make a lot of these decisions. They have to be signed off by leadership. And that's very much part of the process, is making sure that everyone's on the same board, playing board, whatever, everyone's agreeing on what the process should be. A vCIO, they advise on strategy, they investigate technical solutions, and they create a technology roadmap for the organization. They create long-term planning and ensure that the technology is aligned to the business. And that's really the key thing, that getting the technology and the business working alongside each other. A vCIO should be checking that the technology is being managed effectively and the people that are using it and managing it have got the right skills and knowledge to do that effectively. So what isn't a vCIO responsible for? Well, I made a list. Let's go through them. Service desk, IT support issues and day-to-day IT problems, printers, etc. That's not part of the role. And anytime you're getting drawn into that, bending over underneath desks, that's not going to help the business to use IT more effectively. And it values the skills that you bring. A vCIO is not responsible for direct sales. Their job is to help the business use that technology more effectively. They are not a salesperson for another organization. A vCIO's role is not outward looking from the organization. Their role is not to develop sales and marketing strategies. It's, in my opinion, not the vCIO's role to become the technical marketing department. There may be cases where that becomes part of the role, but generally it's an internal role rather than looking outside the organization. That's more of a sales director role. That's not to say that some vCIOs wouldn't do both. System administration, DevOps, and day-to-day IT systems, that's really not what the vCIO role entails. But the interesting thing about DevOps is it came out of that same desire to integrate business with technology. And when you look at the agile or lean processes, and anyway, the point is that it comes out of that same idea to stop there being this barrier between people and technology and try and bring them together. They're not responsible for finance, accounting, project management. That's very easily something that becomes part of the vCIO role, but that's not really what it's for. They're not there to be a team leader. They're there to be a team player. But obviously, you need to be able to manage teams and be a team player. It's not going to work otherwise. I want to just mention about kickbacks and commissions. Now, some vCIOs will be partnered with other organizations, and it's very importantly very transparent that your job is to be independent. If there's a kickback or the way that you'll financially benefit from a decision, you need to be absolutely clear at the top of any conversation. Say, okay, these are the solutions. This is what I'll get if we go with this one. And then there's complete transparency. Ideally, you want to be independent and not be getting kickbacks or give them back to the customer as a discount. And I mentioned earlier that the vCIO is not there to make business decisions. They have to advise, and then the business needs to make those decisions themselves because there's legal issues if you're a pseudo director of a company. So it's very important that the vCIO isn't making those decisions, but they're advising and making clear what the risks and the benefits are. The vCIO's role is really to be business orientated and help the stakeholders understand what decisions need to be made and make sure they're making those great decisions. A lot of vCIOs are aligned to an IT company or to a fractional consultancy firm. And it's very important that when you're buying a vCIO service or selling one, that you understand and you're clear about what that process is. Because I quite often see people that are given the vCIO title who are really sales managers, technical sales managers, they're consultants, and they're not bringing that holistic view. That's really the key to it. That you're not there to sell, that you're there to help the business align technology with the people and where the business wants to go. And that's really what the role's really about. So I hope that makes sense, and that kind of gives you an overview about how I see a vCIO being of value. Points where vCIOs are really, really valuable is if you've had a legacy system and the management team have been struggling to keep things up to date, it's often very difficult for the management team to understand the changes that need to be made because they haven't seen the future and they're stuck in the past. The other reason that you often see the same thing happening is because you've got Interchangeable Leadership, and I've done this many times now, where the new leaders come in and go, oh my goodness, what are we going to do with this? This is a complete mess. So if you're in that situation, a interim vCIO can be really useful. Now, it's very easy to get this idea of, oh, we'll spend a little bit of money on this consultant, that'll magically fix everything. That's not how it works. The consultant's going to give you some information and you need to make decisions. A good vCIO will give you a few options, make it clear what the benefits and the risks of each one is, and then you can make a decision. And they'll work with you and they'll try and help the leadership team really, really get to grips with the decisions they need to make. Great example of that is moving to the cloud. A lot of business leaders, very resistant to it. They don't really understand the risks and the benefits. They don't understand. I mean, I say things like, you know that data is more secure in the cloud than if you've got it in a physical server in your office. And they go, but how can that be? And I have to spend time explaining that. And also there's a thing about scalability when you're moving to the cloud, and I have to spend time explaining that. And some people get it immediately, other people need more time. And this is not about a sales process. This is about having that conversation about what are the benefits of doing A, what are the risks, what are the benefits and risks of doing B, so that people can make great decisions. And if you've, as a vCIO, you should have done these things many, many times before. So you can really go in and say, right, these are the options. Here's where it's not worked before. Here's where it has worked before. And that's the thing about IT. It's often very cyclical, this idea of moving stuff closer, data closer to people, further away into the cloud. And obviously, cybersecurity is a massive growing risk to businesses. A lot of business owners don't know much about it. They're not really managing the risk effectively. So again, vCIO's job is really to kind of focus down, knuckle down, and get the understanding into the leadership's mind so they can make good decisions. So I hope that's really helpful for you. There's a lot of kind of waffle around here about how these roles work and frameworks and stuff, but really it's about having that relationship with the team and making sure that they understand what technology can and can't do today and where it's going in the future. So I hope that makes sense and I hope that's useful to you. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.